Thanks, everybody.
Good morning. Are we, oh, we got a few more stragglers. Okay, I've got 10 o'clock on my watch, and we would like to honor your time and start on time. So good morning. My name is Cheryl Levine. I am the program coordinator for Michigan Special Education Mediation Services, which is this. We are a grant-funded initiative in Michigan, and I come here as the program coordinator for the last 21 years. So I probably should have been reauthorized along with IDEA, but I wasn't. So I'm still here. Been doing this work in previous incarnations. I've been a teacher for both emotionally impaired and hearing impaired and general education. I guess that's 3. I have worked for the Department of Education in Michigan. I have been a licensed foster care, licensed daycare, softball coach, all kinds of stuff like that. And I have raised my first set of children who are just one, thanks.
Thanks.
If it's too noisy, just close it.
Do what you gotta do.
Close it, and then Beth can start taking clothes off. She's too hot. Oops, this is live. This is live stream too. We got to be quick. My first set of children, who are now 29, almost 30, up to 45. 2 of them had IEPs. One of them's old enough, they were still called IEPCs. And I am now coming back to the parenting world. I am raising 3 grandchildren who are 4, 5, and 8. And 2 of them have, well, one's got dyslexia, so she's got specific learning disabilities. And the little guy was born extremely prematurely with a laundry list of conditions and received services in the NICU, in the home, and during COVID. Yes, during COVID. Yep. December 31st, 2020, he was born. So we're from Michigan. I think I said that. So it's snowy then. So it was COVID and snowy and visiting every day in NICU. But anyway, so I have sat around these tables many times. I'm also a mediator, a facilitator, and an IIRP trainer and practitioner for restorative practices. I forgot that part. I forgot that the other day too. So I do those things, but mostly, and soon, I'm retiring at the end of this year, I'm going to go back to taking care of the kiddos, because I found at my age that 2 high priority activities is more than I want to do. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I think I'm okay. I'm going to just pick one, and they're the ones I pick. So I'm going to let Beth introduce herself. You noticed on your on the description of the program, there's supposed to be Laura and Beth. Laura and Bern, sorry. Beth is here, Bern's not. Laura and Bern are still in Michigan. We had to flip coins to see who got to come and who didn't because of budgetary concerns, let's say.
Michigan not passed their budget on when was it? Was it the October 1st, October 2nd, October 8th? And so we were all like, do we get to go? Don't we get to go? When can I buy my plane ticket? When can I buy my plane ticket? So we're here, hoorah. And Laura and Bern are handling a very, very, very busy intake line. It's crazy right now. So we'll talk to you throughout that, about our process for that. So my name's Beth Kohler, and I am not an educator. The first part of my career was spent in higher education. So the camera is asking us to stick away from the monitor. So I'm going to plant myself right here, so I don't wander. But My first career was in higher education, grant writing, and fundraising. I have two sons, 27 and 24. And my 27-year-old was born with something called Williams syndrome. And he finished high school in 2017. And I had a really big job at that time with an hour commute each way. And there was no way, we didn't know what he was going to do after high school. And somebody needed to pay attention to what he was doing. My husband owns his own business. So I won the coin toss and left that career. I took a retirement buyout. And I will tell you, I had never heard of special education mediation services. I'd never heard of alternative dispute resolution. And that's a shocker because we believed from the minute Cameron was diagnosed in full inclusion. We don't believe in segregation of any kind. That's our family value. That made it a really difficult process in schooling. You know, he was born in 1998. Things have improved greatly since then, but it took some time to build all that system up. And so we dual enrolled Cameron in preschool. He was in special education preschool, but we walked him across the parking lot and enrolled him in regular preschool because that's what you do with kids that age. We didn't ask anybody's permission to do that. We just did it. I tell you that because that gives you a picture of what the next 12 years were like between us and our school district. But I will tell you, I mentioned yesterday in a session that our IEPs lasted 5 hours on a good day, but we had a great relationship with our school district. The reason those IEPs lasted 5 hours was poor time management, right? It wasn't because we were fighting. I've never filed a state complaint for due process. It was because we had some really difficult problems to solve. It was hard to get everybody in a room. And so when we had everybody in a room, we took advantage of the time and kind of made things work. And so that's my background. I've been with special education mediation services since 2017 when I left that other career. I'm okay with this. Since I got to stand right here anyway, I may as well just do that. So maybe. Okay, so as Cheryl mentioned, we're a grant-funded initiative through the Office of Special Education. We provide free mediation and facilitation services and professional development across the state of Michigan to schools, to families, family groups, parent groups specifically. We don't train individual families. As well as community service agencies that support students who have learning disabilities and IEPs. And the Office of Special Education in Michigan supplements our funding so that we can provide free facilitation and training beyond what the law requires us to do. So we do not work for the Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education. Technically, we work for the Marquette-Alger Regional Education Service Agency, who is our grant fiduciary. I tell you that because I know a lot of states, their programs are held within their departments of education. Ours is not. They certainly we have report to them, right? But they're not involved in the day-to-day operations of our office. In fact, we have two people from our state department. You want to wave? Here today. So, and then what we do, like probably most of you, is, we meet the federal obligation of offering neutral mediation. But what we really do is foster cooperation, communication, collaboration for families and schools to better meet the needs of the students. Michigan is a birth to age 26 state. And so there's a combination of, we have Michigan mandatory special education funding, we have the Part B and the Part C, and the combination of those dollars help us to educate from birth to age 26. That means that our services are available as well from birth to age 26. I will tell you, we do very little beyond high school. I wish we could do more. I think there's a need for us to do more in helping with transition planning and whatnot, but it's not the bulk of our work, right, Cheryl? And honestly, we don't have a ton of the littles either. It's a long story, and if you'd like to hear about early childhood education in the state of Michigan, you can talk to Gina. Because we've gone through some transition that I'm not gonna bore you with today. It's not boring, actually. It's quite interesting. But the bulk of our work is K-12. Not for lack of trying, but the bulk of our work is K-12.
Really, 312.
312.
Pre-K.
Yeah.
Up to 12.
312.
We're getting a lot of the little bitties.
Yeah. And it's changing a little bit just because of what's going on in Michigan with regard to our early childhood. We have preschool for all in Michigan. Free preschool for all in Michigan. Okay, so we want to address the elephant in the room. We have all been to sessions before where we hear about something great that somebody's doing somewhere, and that's wonderful for them. But we live in a different world back home, and we're not going to be able to pull it off. And so we're hoping, though, if you ask questions and share your experiences, we can all learn from one another and take some tidbits home. I would like to learn from you personally and take some tidbits home about what's working in your states. So not all states have a funding model like Michigan's. We get $2 million to operate our program. And if we're so busy that our mediations and facilitations go beyond that budget, so be it. They make it happen. And then we all know our future is uncertain. And we've talked a lot about that over the past 2 days, and we'll just agree. We'll agree.
Agree to not know anything, right?
So today we're going to look at our data. We're gonna talk to you about our staff experience and what Cheryl and the department has done to build that staff experience over the 21 years that she has been with the program. We're going to talk to you about our database because it's one of the things that I think helps us to function, and it's a scratch database. We didn't buy something and tweak it to fit our needs. It was built from scratch, and the department paid for that. We're going to talk about our program administration and what we learned from the COVID pivot. So a little bit about Michigan and that it's a little different, and everybody probably says their state's different, and we all are unique. You'll see from the map here, we have 56 intermediate school districts. And within those 56 intermediate school districts, we have 536 local education agencies. It's going to make what we tell you today a little confusing because of how we refer to LEAs versus how the federal government refers to LEAs. 288 public schools, growing and growing and growing. Charters, whatever you want to call them, public school academies, 622 non-public schools. We serve 211,666 students with disabilities at last count, and just under 15% of our student population. So the Michigan ISDs, the 56 ISDs, are the subrecipients of the IDEA monies. They're the ones that have the responsibility of ensuring that the local education agencies are implementing the special education supports and services with fidelity throughout the state. There is a lot of work right now that the state is doing to ensure that fidelity, particularly with regard to least restrictive environment. And it's robust. Our state director of special education and her team are actually traveling throughout the state, spending significant time in districts right now and reviewing data and practices and policies and things like that to help them improve how they implement least restrictive environment. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of, wrong way, about that and why Michigan's different. So this CADRE data is from 22-23, and I know that CADRE just released the 23-24. Didn't nudge much, so I had already turned the slides in, so I didn't change it. And so you see that the US average is 4.3 mediation agreements per 10,000 students with a 51% mediation agreement rate and a 33% due process agreement rate. In Michigan, we have just under 8 agreements per 10,000 students with a 74% mediation agreement rate and a 71% due process related mediation agreement rate. And so we're pretty proud of those statistics, actually. Some might say if you have more, that means you have more problems. And I think it actually is us really working hard to get people to participate in alternative dispute resolution. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. What contributes to that success is our robust facilitation model. Again, these are not school district employees. These are mediators and facilitators, same people, 2 different processes. Well, sometimes, almost always they're the same people. Sometimes there are some people that just do facilitation. They don't work for the department. We train them. They're independent contractors. They're not school district employees. We believe that really enhances the neutrality and the delivery of facilitation. So you will see from the data on the screen that our facilitated meetings have gone up and up and up and up. And last year we had 745. Anywhere from reviewing IEPs, planning conferences, manifestation determination reviews, behavior intervention plan meetings, and of course, IEP amendment meetings.
We also facilitate resolution sessions. It's for those of you in due process world. That's
so a little bit, we just filtered some participant feedback in. I don't know if you can see the screen or not. I'll read one of them to you. We send a SurveyMonkey request. I don't know if it's SurveyMonkey or if it's our database now.
Forms. So
to all of the participants in a mediation or facilitation, it's an automatic thing that happens through some, the magic of technology in our database, that the participants get this link to fill out, and we have a really, really good response rate. I don't know what it is.
Well, we receive responses from every single service we provide. Sometimes all participants fill it out, sometimes half, but we get about, I want to say 40, 45 on an average week. I believe that if you spread that out over 50 weeks.
So this is from a parent. It was like a totally, I don't have the right glasses on. It was like a totally different meeting with different staff members. They were more prepared. They allowed me to make changes and even asked more of my opinion and suggestions. Thank you for listening to my concern and executing effectively, efficiently, and expeditiously. We got one from a parent a couple weeks ago with a picture of her and her child. Today, I'm writing to thank you for yesterday's meeting and for the task force supporting my daughter's growth. Thank you for contributing to this life project. And in quotes, hearts that welcome, hands that unite, success that is achieved. This is not an uncommon thing for us to receive. In fact, my colleague Bern Dempsey finishes every Monday morning staff meeting with quotes from participants who have just completed surveys for us. So another way Michigan is different, and this has been the case since 1990, whatever.
The CDRPs?
CDRPs.
79.
79?
Yeah.
Well, since they've done this program with us.
Oh, 97.
97. So the blue lines delineate the regions of our local centers for dispute resolution. These local centers for dispute resolution also do judicial system stuff, and in addition to other types of mediation, small claims, landlord tenant, family parent stuff, and they're subcontractors for us to help us do this work. And so the red dots show you where they're located, and the yellow star is Lansing, which is where our central office is. And so our local dispute resolution centers help us manage the random rotational or otherwise impartial list roster of mediators and and facilitators, but mediators is what the law requires. They also get to decide whether they pay or don't pay their mediators. I know I'm seeing some scrunched eyes. It just is the way it is where we live. So we're working on most of them are doing a pretty good job. But it's $150. So they do get reimbursed, of course, for their mileage and stuff. But they get to decide how that works for them. They also have access to our database. You're going to learn more about the database later, but they have access to the database. That's where all the supportive documents are going to be for them if a state complaint has been filed or an IEP or any background information, that kind of stuff gets uploaded into the database, and then any intake notes, stuff like that. And then they help with the mediator assignments. So we work with these 16 centers. I would tell you that I really want to go over and point, but I can't. We'll do this.
The pointer, the thingy points, Beth.
Oh, the thingy points?
Yeah.
Ooh, how do I do that?
You push one of the buttons and it should point. I don't know, one of the ones above.
That one. So obviously the more populated areas, the more activity, right? And so in Southeast Michigan, where Detroit lies, Macomb County, Oakland County, very, very, very heavy activity. The further north you get into the Upper Peninsula, the more rural areas, the less activity.
The red one.
The red button? They can't see that. Can you see that? It's so little. Can you? Oh, the power. All right.
You went back.
I went backwards. I was gonna say, didn't I just do that? The arrow pointing to the right, Beth, that's the one you use. So we believe, the theme this morning was trust, right? How do you build trust? And we believe that that's not just in the mediation or facilitation meeting or the relationship with the schools. It also is trust in our program, trust that we're doing things the way we're supposed to be doing them, trust that we're meeting the obligations of the law, and doing the things with high quality and fidelity. Ultimately, we're all here because we want to positively impact our students' educational experiences and achievements. So let's talk a little bit about state support. Michigan was the first state to offer facilitations in 1997. Been doing it for a long time. Michigan offered special education before PL 94-142. I don't know why. I was little. But they just did. It was just in their nature, in their culture. It was what their belief system was. Certainly looked different back then. And then our state also provides us, this is beyond that $2 million that we talked about. Our state also funds a formal marketing campaign for us. It has changed over the years. It does depend on what our budgets look like. Some years are more robust than others, and towards the end of the outreach time, I'll give you more specific details about that. But they also include their state model form. They include us on their state model complaint form. So you'll see, if I can scroll down one-handed, maybe arrow keys? No, okay. Where'd you go, Mousy? Where'd you go? Come on back. Back. Right down here, you'll see. Da, da, da. Where is it, Cheryl? Right there. Okay. Can't see that. That's interesting. It worked before. So.
And pop.
Yep, hang on. I can do this. Thought I could do it.
The short version is the state model complaint form has a third page. There it is.
So it tells you right here, we have this process called mediation or facilitation. Are you interested? And what that does is that sends to our intake team just a person's name. Nothing else about it, but just a person's name and contact information. And then we'll reach out and say, hey, we noticed you checked this. And it's also on our due process complaint form. So I won't go through that. I won't go through that again. But that's another way that the state supports what we're,
We do not get the complaints.
right.
We get that page with the participant's signature, releasing or giving the department permission to share their contact information.
So, and I'm not gonna, I think
Try to do
in
it
the
again.
interest of time, I'm not gonna click on these on these links. But we also have a direct link on the Office of Special Education website that's dedicated to dispute resolution. It provides all sorts of links and information about the alternative dispute resolution process. It's written into our Michigan Administrative Rules for Special Education. I'm gonna do it because I have to show them Family Matters. So, stop slideshow and slideshow. So I think these things are amazing. And so the state contracted with some people, a person,
A person.
and they put together these fact sheets. And I'm here to tell you that educators love these things. They love them. They're for families, but educators love them because they really provide in plain language different processes with regard to special education supports and services. And they put together a fact sheet, some fact sheets for dispute resolution and what that might look like, and then in Spanish and in Arabic. And so the special education problem solving fact sheet is the most generic one. But these documents are really, they talk to you. What should you do first? You should talk to your school principal. Then you should, maybe talk to the school principal supervisor before you get to elevating, a state complaint or stuff like that, and who you should contact, and the language in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and links to state complaints and due process complaints. And they do this for all sorts of systems or processes within special education. And I think that's a really great, why does it keep going back to the beginning? Because I ended the slideshow. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. All right, that's the last time I'm going to do that because it messes stuff up. Okay, but it's really, we're really proud of Michigan and the fact that they support us so greatly. So I'm curious if anybody's willing to share, what are some things that your state does that we haven't talked about or shared this morning? Is there anything that you think your state does that's unique to supporting your program?
We also, as Beth mentioned earlier, for the little bitties, our governor has peeled off the 0 to 3, the early on, and created a new department. Michigan.
And Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential.
There you go.
Michigan Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential. We refer to it as My Leap.
My Leap.
M-I.
My Leap, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
The 0 to 3 are actually the My Leap Elks.
My Leap Elves.
Oh.
Yes, Early Learning Family Support Unit.
Early Learning Family Support Unit. I haven't heard that, Gina. That's great. I love it. I love it. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share about something unique that their state does? Okay. Don't hesitate to interrupt if you have something to share, please. Another thing that our state does is this is our team. This is our central office. This is not mediators, facilitators, local center people. This is us. So there's Cheryl, who's our program coordinator. We have a program administrator, Sue. Carl, he's a part-timer. He is our chaos coordinator. He is the most organized person I've ever met in my life. Bern, who is our training specialist. Bern was the executive director of one of the alternative dispute resolution centers. He's an attorney, and he handles our training. We have Anwin, who's our creative consultant, who helps with all of our online learning modules to train our mediators and facilitators and website stuff and things like that. And then we have 2 people dedicated to intake. Laura, who was a special education attorney for the Chicago Public Schools District for decades. And Diane, who was a former special education administrator and has multiple degrees, myself, and then I have two partners in outreach, a former early childhood educator, and then somebody who worked in the prison system as an educator for her whole career. And so again, that's how the state supports our program and being as robust as it is by allowing us to have all of these staff members. And then kudos to Cheryl, because we intentionally seek people with unique backgrounds, right? I'm the parent background. Both Rebecca and Taryn are in northern Michigan. And for those of you from states with some pretty significantly rural areas, those areas can be really tough nuts to crack as far as coming in and trying to convince them that you can help them do better. They want to handle their own business. They don't want anybody paying any attention to them. Go home, we're fine. We'll call you if we need you, kind of a thing. And so this is the outreach team. I live just south of Detroit, down here. Rebecca lives in the center of the state, and Taryn lives in the Upper Peninsula. Super intentional. Taryn, we had to run a television advertisement in the Upper Peninsula to get her. It was so hard to find some, and she saw it, God bless her, and and applied. And so those two have some unique perspectives. You know, they're rooted in Taryn is a lifelong Youper. And she has been able to, with gangbusters, improve our access and work with people in the Upper Peninsula like never before. We've actually had a case or two up in the Keweenaw Peninsula, haven't we? Way up in Copper Country, and I don't think we've been on any islands. Have we been on any islands? Doesn't matter. We might do those virtually, to be honest with you. It kind of depends on mediators' availability in the area. But that was a desert for us a few years ago, and now we're making ground up there. So our goals, we have everybody who has a grant has program goals, and we have some goals that that the Office of Special Education requires of us, but we also enhance those goals with the work that we do. And one of the things that the Office of Special Education requires of us is that we communicate with special education administrators a minimum of 3 times per year. So you saw, and they mean those 56 counties. They don't mean all 900 local education agencies. Not all 900 local education agencies have a special ed administrator. A lot of school districts don't. And so we communicate with those 56 ISDs at least 3 times per year. We try PAC meetings, Parent Advisory Committee meetings. Those are the easies. That's the easy, oh, sure, come to that, talk to our parents. In Wayne County, it's like a meeting, a congressional hearing. In Oakland County, it's like a congressional hearing. In a more rural area, you might have 3 people there, 2 of which are ISD employees who happen to have children with disabilities that receive services. Those are the easy things. The harder meetings for us to get are with principals. Oh, if I could get in a room of principals, I would be a happy, happy, happy person. And the doers, the people that do the work, it's harder to get to them. They're very well buffered. But we also have other targeted audience, underserved populations. You know, and each year we identify an underserved population. Could be Native American communities, could be people based on race or ethnicity. We have a very robust population, Arab American population in Southeast Michigan and throughout the state. And again, some cultural differences that we have to kind of change what we do and get access and how we get access. And family serving agencies and other community partners like the Autism Alliance or the Down Syndrome Society. I'm curious if you guys have other people that you reach out to. If you haven't heard a list, that's my thing. I'm always trying to find some unique people to reach out to that maybe we'll talk to grandparents raising grandchildren, foster parents, things like that, because it doesn't matter where we go, we will hear from people, I wished I'd heard about you yesterday or last week. Educators and families alike. We can't get the word out enough. So we do a lot of conferences. Our budget is supported to do that. We go to, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech language pathology, our statewide autism resource and training network, the Michigan, the Middle School Principals Association, all of those types of organizations. We do exhibit tables. We try to do presentations. We don't always get selected, but we try to do presentations. And we're at all of these things. And that's another way that that we get the word out. And one of the reasons we're doing this robust, that's what I get for not looking at the script. One of the reasons we're doing this robust outreach is several years ago, we had a lieutenant governor by the name of Brian Calley. He has a daughter with autism. And part of his responsibility when he was lieutenant governor was to go on a listening tour throughout the state to find out what people who have, for families of people with disabilities, what supports do they need from the state? What is lacking, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that he learned from families was that they wanted another way to disagree with their school districts outside of court. So he comes back to the Michigan Department of Education and says, we need an alternative dispute resolution system. I'm not sure those are the words that he used, because families are saying they don't want to have to go to court. And he didn't even know he had one. Might have been an embarrassing day. I don't know. But so then the state said, we got to do better with our outreach. And so that's why they support these types of activities. That's why there's 2.5 FTEs on our staff, so that we do outreach. It's what we do. We're constantly trying to promote the program so that more people are using it. Did I miss anything in that? We have a great relationship with our Parent Training and Information Center, the Michigan Alliance for Families. They have a really robust webinar schedule, and they themselves are speakers, but they also invite other people in to talk, and they invite us every year to offer up learning opportunities for the people that they support. And it's great because we don't have to do anything but show up. They do all the registration, they do all the technical support, they do all that stuff. And we show up and provide the learning opportunity. Actually, one's taking place today, but due to the time change, it's already taken place. But collaborative communication and special education, disciplinary removals. Laura, our former Chicago Public Schools attorney, does a really great presentation on disciplinary removals, what you should and shouldn't do. And manifestation determination reviews. Don't give advice. We don't give advice. We just talk about what the law says and the practices and things like that. Our newest is how to prepare for facilitation and mediation. That got the attention of the Office of Special Education. And so we've really ramped that one up, and that's posted to our website and our YouTube channel. And we provide lots of other things as well with the Alliance. So again, interrupt me if there's something unique that you guys do that I'm not mentioning. I'd love to learn from that. If there's other agencies or organizations or parent groups, school groups that you interact with that help promote the message of your program. 7 minutes. Okay, Cheryl, I'm trying. Okay. I also mentioned to you that the state allows us and supports us to provide professional development to schools, to family groups, organizations. We've talked to departments of health and human services before, and community mental health organizations. And so we put together some opportunities on, what types of things might they need to know about. Dispute resolution options in special education is one of them. We also will cater these. There's a form on our website that people can go in and sign up for more information. And we will cater these if they need continuing education units, or what our state calls sketches. And there's some time parameters for requirements for that, how long the training needs to last. But we can also whittle it down to, 3 lunch hour type things if that fits with them. How to build trusting relationships between families and schools is really, really popular. We're kind of doing our roadshow on that one again this year. And the how to communicate with the most challenging personalities stemmed from how to develop trusting relationships, because every time we delivered the how to develop trusting relationships, people will go, yeah, but what about that person right there that I can't stand, right? Yeah, same thing. You still got to do it. But that's where how to communicate with the most challenging personalities stemmed from. Our entire team develops these proposals. We don't just do it in a vacuum alone. Everybody has some content expertise. And the outreach team, though, is trained to deliver these professional development opportunities. We don't do discipline or MDRs, manifestation determination reviews. We leave some of the more robust legal stuff to the legal team to do that. But again, the state supports us in helping to provide these learning opportunities for schools at no charge. So schools can train their teams on things at no charge. We have a canned program presentation. This is the one that was delivered earlier today through our partnership with our Parent Training and Information Center. All of our dispute resolution centers are trained also on how to deliver this. So everybody's giving the same message across the state of what this program is and what it looks like. After having listened to the AI presentation yesterday at lunch, I'm really excited to go back and see what they have to say, because every year we're asked to refresh this, and I'm like, I don't know how else I can refresh this thing. Like what else? How else can I say this? And so I'm really excited to allow some smart computers to give us tips on what to do with this. But we're all trained in doing this, and this really just talks about the basics of our program. It's rooted in the CADRE continuum. We used to have the CADRE continuum chart in there, but it made people's eyes cross. And so now it's just more rooted in the explanation of the program and why alternative dispute resolution is such a win-win-win for everybody involved. We have a website. Again, the state contracted with a marketing firm to help build this website. They do the majority of it. We can change words. That's pretty much it. We can change words, but we have a website. You can see from the top of the website that they can complete a request for services right up there, or there's our phone number, 1-833-KIDS-FIRST, that people can call. We also have social media. I will tell you what, this is not my jam. I don't participate. I watch cute puppies and Rufus the Bull on Facebook. I don't do social media. It's just not who I am. And so I'm really grateful for my colleague, Rebecca. Again, really excited about the AI presentation yesterday, so she can go back. But we do Try This Not That Tuesday with regard to communication tips and tricks. She's also got Words of Wisdom Wednesday now. We always promote where we're going to be across the state with people. Cheryl is trying to get us to use Snapchat. Trying. Yeah, we'll see. Do you guys have any cool things you do on social? Anyone? Come on. Okay. She tried to get us to do, what's the one, the TikTok?
TikTok.
And I was like, what are you going to do on TikTok? What are we going to do? You can dance and sing on
Reels.
TikTok. I'm not dancing and singing. Nobody wants to. I might get following just because it's embarrassing, not because it was good.
All followers are good followers.
We have a quarterly newsletter that we use Constant Contact to disseminate. We work really hard to acquire email addresses. I'll tell you what, those school system websites are getting tougher and tougher for really good reasons. But we also promote the newsletter on social so people can sign up to receive it. Always providing communication tips. If there's any new special education guidance that our mediators and facilitators or schools, I mean, they get inundated with emails. They might not know that something new has come up. So we always include that in our newsletter. That's quarterly. And this is another part of our state-supported campaign that I mentioned. So in a robust year, when budgets are a little easier to pass, this is the marketing firm's media campaign on behalf of our program. So we've done bus banners before in urban areas where lots of people take the bus with QR codes. They do digital audio advertisements on like iHeartRadio or Pandora. Digital display advertisements like in Google search and things like that. We have paid social media. And then paid search functions. In the last robust campaign, from all of the tactics implemented, we had 2.6 million impressions and 673,000 engagements, clicks, likes, shares, comments. Again, really grateful to the state for their support in that, because that really helps. And I will tell you, it makes our intake line go crazy when that campaign is going. We also get orders for pizza sometimes. And then a lot of times our intake line will get calls that have nothing to do with alternative dispute resolution. It's just a result of people not really understanding it. But also we answer the phone. There isn't a staff meeting that goes by where somebody doesn't go, oh, I have to take this call. And we've heard from many, many people, thank you for answering the phone. Because we've been having such a hard time getting a hold of somebody. And that's why we have Cheryl does a lot of intake work. We have 2 full-time intake, and then Bern and Sue are also trained to answer the phone. And it could be the outreach is going to get trained to answer the phone real soon as well, because the phone's ringing. So again, the state gives us the tablecloth. That's what that's called. There's brochures on the center table in the back there if you're interested in what the brochures look like, and we have pens. We don't have budget for giveaways. That's one of the things that we feel real jealous of our fellow vendors and exhibitors at conferences, because depending on the conference, they're giving away like, what are those fancy coolers that everybody pays Yetis amounts of money for?
Yetis.
I mean, they're giving away stuff, and we've got like Tic Tacs, so, but the Tic Tacs are really cool. If you Google it, you can get little bitty boxes of Tic Tacs and this really cool big box of Tic Tacs. And I'll tell you what, the teachers love it. They'll come back and they'll be like, can we have your empty Tic Tac box? Because we want it for our classroom. So that's what we give away. We give away candy. And here's a look at our database, right? So everywhere we go, everything we do, we enter into the database is an outreach opportunity. Who did we talk to? What did we talk about? Their address? Was it a local education agency within that ISD? All of the nitty gritty, our community organization. What was it? Was it a presentation? Was it a meeting? Was it a phone call? Was it a vendor table, all that kind of stuff. And so that we can go back, and our local dispute resolution centers have the opportunity to provide outreach, and we pay them for that outreach. And we can go back and look and see at the end of the year. There's no magic button to push, but I put together some information based on some different reports. Who didn't we reach? Last year it was 2 counties. 2 counties in the state of Michigan that didn't request services. They didn't request a facilitation or a mediation. Every other county in the state of Michigan had at least 1 request for facilitation or mediation. And we can look, did we provide any outreach in that county? We know now that we've really got work to do in that county, because it could be that everything's sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns there. It's probably not. It's probably they just don't know what they don't know. And so we'll target those areas for outreach. And then, of course, we train all of our centers on and providing an elevator speech. And so, my elevator speech, and for those who were walking by the vendor tables yesterday, and I'm going to have to walk this way because I can't walk in front of the screen, and you do this, see what they got to give away, right? That's how long you have. If you're lucky, they're by the food line, right? That's how long you have to give your elevator speech. And so we have tried really hard. I tend to talk, anybody old enough to remember the FedEx commercials where the guy talked really fast. And so mine is, have you heard of our program? We're the state's alternative dispute resolution program. We help families and schools learn how to better communicate and collaborate over the provision of special education supports and services. Right? We also, because everybody wants a free pen, we always clip our pens and our business cards to the brochure. So they can't just take the pen. So, and sometimes I've had people dump the whole bowl of candy in their bag too. We don't tackle anybody. The department frowns on that. So does anybody do you like my little Progressive commercial? I don't have the link to play it, but does anybody have an elevator speech or something they say when they're out and about that's unique that they would like to share? Nobody?
Does anyone actively promote? Are you in the business of actively promoting to the community what you do and how you do it? How do you do it? What's your?
We speak frequently to stakeholders, just like you do. Sometimes county by county, sometimes organization by organization, if there's a statewide organization or if there's a chapter of an organization, they tend to seek us out, and we're in the business of saying yes.
Okay.
Is there anybody that you would like to get in front of that you can't? You just can't?
Yes, I see a nod.
Who? What? Who is it?
For us, like we said,
Mhm.
being able to talk to principals. And people who are doing the work.
People doing the work, yeah.
To make
Yeah.
the facilitations and mediations more successful.
Yeah.
And everybody has a shared understanding.
So she said it helps make the mediations and facilitations more successful when everybody has a shared understanding. And man, you were going to have to talk really fast. Sorry. And yes, right? Because in the mediation is your special ed administrator, right? And while their jobs are hard and really robust, if you talk about, let's say, I mean, it just depends on the school district. Not every school district has a special ed administrator. And you might have a district AP that's been assigned the role of being the decision maker in the room. Well, they can't talk to everybody about what we learned from this mediation or facilitation, right? And so it's really helpful to get in front of a variety of audiences so that, you know, you might have, my sister was a school-based occupational therapist. And boy, did she write us a scathing review, though. That's her. That's my sister. But
I knew Beth was going to read it.
yeah, she knew I was going to read it, and it really didn't have anything to do with SEMS. It had to do with the dispute that was taking place. But you know, she didn't know. I don't know how many times I had to explain to her what we do, and it made me angry. Like, you're not listening. This is what I do. And I think she eventually finally learned about it, but we're always trying to get in front of other audiences, because when people ask me or when people ask you what you do for a living, people ask me what I do for a living, and like, oh, it's a really different job. You know, it's hard. And they always kind of tilt their head. I mean, you can say I do education mediation, and they'll kind of understand what it is. They go right to arbitration, or they think lawyers, you know, stuff like that. But it's difficult. All right, I'm done.
You're done?
You got
Okay.
an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
We found, I was director of early intervention in a county in Maryland that parallels Michigan. We were one of the first 5 birth mandate states. And what we found over time is that we need to get out of our lane and think of, if a child has an issue, who do parents contact?
Right.
And they often contact their local pediatrician.
Yes.
Community health center.
Yes.
Nurse practitioner. So one of the things that we figured out over time was that the local chapters of the American States Academy of Pediatrics were always looking for speakers for their monthly meetings to use. And so that audience was incredibly important, because they're the ones who often will see children where parents are saying, I don't know what do I think, what do I do? So, and this is particular intervention, but I think it's important when the school has said something or there's concern, if the parent is looking for advice or comfort, they might very well speak to the pediatrician. One would hope they need the concept of medical need, that they want to be the central piece. And it can be very helpful if you're on the same page. So
Right.
often in the past, pediatricians had no idea. Old school,
Right.
universally.
Yeah.
But when they become invested, I met these people, there are ways, you
Mhm.
have concerns, I understand, I can't address those concerns, but I can certainly hook you up with people who can.
So for the good of the online presentation, in a very brief summary, what this gentleman shared was that he has had success connecting with academies of pediatric physicians and providing professional development opportunities, and also giving them information about the program, because especially for our early childhood students, parents really rely on their pediatricians to be the be all and know all of everything. And I can speak, and I think Cheryl can speak too, because she's got Jack, her grandson now. We revered our pediatrician when Cameron was a little, and I would love to have learned more from him. In our case, it was a really great child find. You know, the hospital in our school district had a really great relationship, and so the school district just pestered me ad nauseum. But nobody dreams of having a child in special education, right? And I think things have gotten a little better as far as the visibility, but those parenting magazines and all that stuff, the what to expect when you're expecting and what to expect in the first year, none of that addressed having a child with a disability. And so that's a really good point of working on those early years. Okay, Cheryl, go.
Well, and you said the magic word, trust.
Yeah.
And as Beth laid the framework, years ago, we discovered that that's what we needed to promote. We're not promoting only services. We're promoting trust in the process. We're promoting trust in our mediators and facilitators, and we're promoting trust between parties. So everything we do is rooted and based in that. This slide shows again those 16 community dispute resolution centers before 2027. There were 20.
17,
What did I say?
2027.
Oh, okay.
Go to the future.
Well, we're going in the past. 2017, there were 26 of them. They've combined or folded or whatever anyway. And they all did the intake separately. So special education calls would go to them. As a state agency, we never knew the calls. We didn't get any of that information until after the end of the month, and they would send us stuff. It was just more random stuff. It wasn't systematized because the CDRPs believed in doing things their own way, and that was how they worked. They had their own boards. They were their own nonprofits, so they had their own systems. And as a program, we relied on those systems to provide us the data that we needed to track the program, build the program. In 2017, actually, Terry Rink was the director, is the director, and she was at NASD and ran into the folks from Wisconsin. Is Wisconsin in the room? No. And Wisconsin said, hey, we have a centralized intake, works way better. She came back, she said, hey, we're going to do a centralized intake. So we scrambled and we created a centralized intake. And that, for all these reasons, it became a wonderful process. So we have a poll. There's a QR code there. You have little pieces of paper on your table. If you could scan it, and one question, it's only one question. And it's, what model best describes the mediation intake process in your state? Yeah, at the bottom. Thank you. Okay. So using a form seems to be the, it's growing. Oh, it's shrinking. Oh, there we go. Got a new one. There's about 30 of you in the room. I figure if we get to 20, we'll call it good, and figure 10 of you don't want to play. So, okay, so 50%, oops, we're getting more. The form, even if all the rest of you click something else, the form is still going to be the majority that people, participants complete and send in. Where do they get the form? On whose website? Your department, state. Is that the only place they can get it? PTI centers have it too?
And districts have a link to that.
Okay. SEA staff conduct an intake. Mediators, the traditional mediator intake model is growing. Third-party SEA service partner, that would be like what we do. And 10 don't have an intake process. Can somebody who answered that explain what happens then? How do you get the information? And
So I was one of those.
okay,
Oh, that, I got.
Great.
yeah,
Okay. So I'm in Maryland, and we're in the very, very, very beginning process of trying to craft an early dispute resolution system process. And I'm with the Parent Training Information Center, and we're partnering with our SEA. And one of the things the SEA talked about is the fact that it's like this light bulb, right? We don't really have it's not really centralized in our state, right? And so we have these local community mediation centers that really operate outside of everything, right? They're funded by the state, but there isn't, but it depends on if they're like offer it, and so there's really, and facilitated IEPs aren't really a systematic thing. I mean, we're working on it.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons
Okay.
why I came to this session.
thank you.
So, oh, you're welcome.
Sounds familiar, actually.
Yes. So again, our intake, another building block for the trust. Initially, because we collect all the information, we explain the services, we help them determine whether mediation or facilitation is the right service at that moment. And I don't know if you remember the slide early on that Beth was showing with statistics. We are able to facilitate all special education meetings, including resolution sessions. So it's not just IEPs or IFSPs. Everything we do, we work really hard to not transmit PII through.
PII.
What is PII? Personally identifiable information. Excuse me. Thank you, Beth, is my jargon police. So we use DocuSign. That's another line item in our budget. Unlimited DocuSign, $11,000 in case you're wondering. Always have to confirm the participation of both parent and school districts. And then we assign it to one of those centers after that. So we have all of these ways they can get to us. That's what I asked when there was no intake process. The ease of getting to one of our intake people, if you're around, you're going to see phone numbers, websites, emails, on the state complaint forms, our service partners, and all our social that we have out there. Our paid media is either a call to click, so call to click here to the website, or a call to call. They alternate between what their focus is, what they run. Again, we work real hard on making sure that both parties are comfortable with the process before they agree to enter into it. They know what to expect. For the most part, who's going to be there? Obviously, in a facilitated meeting, that's the school district's meeting. We don't run those. We just support the process that we don't own. We're not in the IDA. We can't do anything about that. We translate everything through a company called Genie. Great service if you don't have a real-time translation service. You call them up, actually go online, you say, I need I don't know, some obscure language translator. They translate in 300 languages or something. And tell them when you want them. It could be immediately, and it's a three-way phone call then with the party. They also do some translation for documents and things like that. Though from that lunchtime presentation yesterday, evidently Al, we call AI Al because that's what it looks like when it pops up all the time. So no, don't invite Al to the meeting. Well, that is important when it comes to Zoom calls. Al can't come to the meeting. So we make it easy for folks to talk to our intake people. Intake takes anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the complexity and the emotions and how many people we have to call to give the information that we need. One thing this very comprehensive intake does, is it does allow some of the pre-session venting to happen. Because as intake people, we understand we're also all mediators, so we know how to respond neutrally and not escalate. And sometimes we actually employ, mediation techniques to de-escalate, try to get folks to crystallize what their frustration is, how, and most importantly, how that relates to the student. So many times we get calls and we only speak to adults unless it's a student over 18. And they forget the student. So we all circle back to the student always. And they catch on to that after a while because we keep saying, well, how is that going to impact? And if we say that enough, the next time they share something, and that will impact, so that's good. Consistent messaging, we share that common language so that you can call us from any county in Michigan, you're going to get the same message. We do have pages. Beth referred to showed you the Family Matters there and the Preparing for Special Education. And we really walk alongside the parties through the process, step by step by step. And we help to make sure that the information is the same and the service is the same throughout the state. I think I explained all this. And Beth told me I have to hurry through this, so. We don't advocate and we don't provide legal advice. Even though I would say if we get 10 calls a day, 2 of those calls are still, I need an advocate. Well, we don't advocate. However, we can provide this. And Michigan does not have many free advocates. Most of them are in our ARCs or our UCPs, United Cerebral Palsy organizations. We have a growing field of paid advocates, but some of them are quite expensive, like $1,500 to attend an IEP meeting, expensive. So it's hard, and families are desperate for support. We provide the information, and we have this big black line. Information is on one side, and guidance, suggestions is on the other line, and we don't go across that line. We stay on the information side. We pride ourselves on quick, reliable responses. As Beth said, we do get the phone calls. Oh my gosh, you answered the phone. You're a live person. I've called 16 people this morning. They do a Google search and all these. Yep, we try. We always have 3 to 5 people available to answer calls. And if they do have to leave a voicemail, we call back. Emails, online requests, we respond within 24 hours. We have taken a request for mediation or facilitation, usually facilitation. I've got a facilitation tomorrow and I really need somebody there to help with the process. Can you do it? We never say no. We do not say no. We say, that's a real short turnaround. I'll see what I can do. And we have turned them in less than 24 hours. So we don't like to do that, but because we have developed a good relationship, trusting relationship with our service partners and our mediators and facilitators, they know that that might happen. We do it. This is the part I haven't talked about. Again, quality control, making sure that all of our services are up to par. Every week, our staff, our internal staff, reviews all of the open cases, our services that are out there. And are they being scheduled promptly? Do we have someone assigned to them? Or is it going to be a last minute scramble? Sometimes if the centers can't find a mediator or facilitator, or they just really haven't looked, we'll have to step in and do that process for them. But rather than turning over a case to a center and walking away from it, we don't. So as a program, as part of our quality control, we will look at all of those and make sure that they're being handled in the manner that we believe the public needs.
I don't think we included this in our presentation, but there is a contract the centers assign every year that outlines what they get paid, okay, to manage a case, depending on the type of case that they manage.
Correct. It's a LOU. Can't use the word contract because of just the way the federal funds run. They're not contractors. They're service partners through a letter of understanding. And they know what they're going to get. So we do not pay mediators from our organization. The state said, nope, we're not doing that. Perception of bias. We don't want to do that. So we pay our service partners who then, most of the time, not all the time, pay mediators a stipend. And we call it a stipend because that's what it is. It doesn't even reach our pro bono level in Michigan. So, because it's $150 per service, not per hour, per service. Oh, that's Beth's little speedy snail that we do turnaround things like that. Paperwork, we circulate a statement of understanding prior to the meeting and we use DocuSign. We do not use an agreement to mediate because of confusion in terminology and because of whatever that question was. What is it? The question A26 in that 2013 OSEP Q&A. That document's never going to retire. We refer to it all the time. That you cannot deny. I mean, you can't be forced to sign an agreement before you enter into a mediation. So anyway, we use this statement of understanding, and really that's what it is. We are setting forth what the process is, what the facilitator or mediator will and will not do, and they just sign it if they want to. They don't have to, but we do circulate it with DocuSign ahead of the meeting. We have a model form, not a state model form, but we have a model form that includes the statutory language for a mediation agreement, the confidentiality, and it puts in there that it can be enforced through a court of competent jurisdiction, which I know has a legal meaning, competent jurisdiction, but I just think that's a funny way to describe a court. Competent, okay, yeah, we're only going to pick the competent courts to send these to. We also have a place on our form about the disposition of the complaint. About 50% now. 50% of our mediations that come in have an associated due process or state complaint. And we make sure that we handle the due process or state complaint. What's going to happen? Is it dismissed? Has it been withdrawn? Or is it going forward still? We always debrief after the sessions with mediators and facilitators. And as Beth mentioned, we have a push a button, send survey, and through the magic of our database and Amazon clouds probably, the participant and mediator summaries go out to everyone who was in the room. And it's an online form. It's created with Outlook Forms, not SurveyMonkey. And they just answer, I don't know, half a dozen questions, and it comes back to us automatically. Used to be, these were pen and pencil and had to be sent back. This is our database. Got to brag a little on our database because, as I said, we started out getting paper forms from participants, paper forms from our centers, and it was all just sent. When I started with the program, I spent an inordinate amount of time hand entering things into an Excel spreadsheet. Then we went from Excel to Access. Everybody remember Access? Yay, Access, right? Then we went, the state contracted with an organization out of, I don't know where the organization was. I can't remember. But anyway, it was a Canadian court. They purchased a Canadian court data tracking software package and spent millions of dollars trying to make it work for Michigan. It didn't. We lost about 18 months worth of data in that experiment, however, because they wanted a system that would handle all three dispute resolution systems. After that, we went back to gathering data on our paper forms and said, we can't do this. We're growing too fast. We gotta move. So we built from scratch a database that is very comprehensive. It captures all of the data that we need, beginning from intake, demographic, all the way through case disposition and forms. It manages the evaluations so our mediators can see their own evaluations. The evaluations are also attached to the different cases that the services provided. We capture, as Beth said, all of the outreach data. And one of Beth's dreams is to have a map that shows outreach and then services, so she doesn't have to do these spreadsheets that show or don't show where there's holes and things. Right, this map is going to have it's going to jump out at her. So the next two, that top five, what really works, quality mediation facilitation. We train our mediators and facilitators after we get them. We recruit at conferences that we've got a little flyer, people can take it. We also get referrals from our local service partners, those CDRPs, and we try to get people who are passionate. We want folks who want to make a difference for children, not that are in it for the buck, because we don't have bucks to give. So, and right now our roster has about, I want to say about 60 people on it. And that seems ridiculous. I know, outrageous number, but some of them only do one case every 2 months or something because they live in those low population areas in Michigan. You know, this part of Michigan, that part, doesn't have very many people. So it doesn't have very many students and not very many disputes that require on-site people. Because if it's virtual, we can assign someone from anywhere in Michigan to handle a virtual session. We do rely on we want the mediators to come to us having had basic Gen Civ or domestic mediation training and have actually worked through some cases. We prefer that they don't do a whole lot of the small claims because it is so different from special education. When we bring them into special education mediation training, we have to break them down to build them back up because it's just a different animal.
Term relationship building.
Yes, long-term relationship building. Our training consists of 16 online substantive learning modules, and they may be content, legal type things, or some skill. There'll be things like ethics and special education mediation, how to do opening statements in general. We kind of outline that. We have a module on that, and building trust. That initial trust, because we emphasize and we train our mediators and facilitators that, I mean, you've all heard, you get one shot at first impression. If you blow it, if you blow it in either pre-session caucuses or you blow it when you walk in the room, you're not going to have that trust to carry you through that session. And we know above anything else that you got to have it. And our program so far has built that trust, built that trust, built that trust, built that trust. Now we're handing it over to the mediators, and we want to make sure our mediators don't drop that trust. And what did you say about closing doors or something? No, you said something.
I don't know. It's like closing the deal.
Closing the deal.
Mediators
That's what
close
you
the deal. Yeah.
Right. So they have to listen, or it's a participative online modules where they have to answer questions throughout, make sure they've, understanding the content. 2 days in in-person skills training. So they've done all the substantive stuff. We're working on skills when we get them in the room. We provide them with a manual. They observe in our database. Again, we have a place they can go in and say, I want to observe this, that, and the other. They observe a minimum of 2. Most of them do many more than that sessions. And then we require a 2-hour live mediation role play.
And we are tough on that.
Oh, because we're the players.
We're tough on them. Yeah. It's a really emotional process too for the people. They tend to not ask me anymore because I get really emotional about it. But if you have to, you're given a role, and maybe I'm angry militant mom, and your body doesn't know you're role playing. Your body's like, "Ah," and then I have to tell my family, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm just playing this role. Because they're usually on Zoom. Sometimes they're in person, but they're usually on. We put them through it. We really do.
So you don't pay them for their training either?
Nope.
No.
We put them up in the hotel if they need it, and we feed them.
And you only pay them $125.
150.
And that includes like all of their free work, all of.
Yep.
Right. We agree.
Yep.
We agree with your face.
Yes. Yes. So these folks.
What'd you say, Gina?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah, I know. Go figure. Do you know, are there educators in the room? You people don't know how to retire, right? Right. And so when we're at conferences and we're like, I'm thinking about retiring, and I'm like, oh, you should be a mediator. It's exactly what we
Yeah.
do. School psychologist conferences, school social work conferences. Yep. Because you don't know how to retire.
Nope.
And we're grateful for that.
We get you. But so the majority, as I said, the majority of our mediators and facilitators come to us through these CDRPs. And they have their rosters of mediators who provide the court mediation as their give back to their community. So that's what they're used to. We tried for years to figure out a way to get them something because the cases that we're getting are becoming more and more complex. They take longer. We require more of our mediators. So we pushed it to get the 150. We go back every year with our application to the state and say, look, this is what we want to do. And so far, we have not gotten approved for that activity. However, we've gotten approved for doing a lot of what we do. No, just not that one yet. The training, these three main things. This is Burns, who's not here. These are his three main goals. How to focus on the student, how to thread the needle to observe, prevent perceptions of bias. And we ask lots of questions. We teach them questioning techniques. We make them practice questioning techniques. And then we also tell them to be patient with themselves because this isn't something that comes to most people overnight. You are not a special education mediator one day, or not one day, and then you are the next. This takes time, and it takes a while to refine your skills. And honestly, you either got it or you don't with mediation. It's a process that is very unfamiliar to most people. How many mediators are in the room? Okay. Did you just wake up one day and you were, yeah. But it's something that it's kind of in you. I don't know that Beth would be a good mediator. I love Beth to death. She's wonderful at what she does, but she's not real good at controlling her body language when she disagrees or dislikes something. And you better recognize that in yourself and take whatever steps you do. I mean, and I'm not, the best at it either, but when I am mediating or in one of those roles, I'm very conscious of that in myself. And I make it a point to pay attention to that. But that's a trained mediator. She just doesn't get assigned anything. So
I'm biased. It goes against human nature, right?
Mhm.
And as a parent who raised a child through the special education system, I learned a lot about that, but I have a lot of implicit bias with regard to the system. And I agree. I would have to do an awful lot of practice,
Right.
in order to remove that bias.
And we all have bias. Yes, ma'am.
No, that's not the notice for the sentence of the end of 11:30.
Oh,
I thought it was 12:15 or 12:10.
oh my gosh. Beth.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So, more quality mediators. Yes, it is. This is more stuff that we do to make sure our mediators and facilitators.
Oh my God,
do.
I'm so
We
sorry.
have brown bag meetings once a month so they can zoom in and talk to us about things. We send out newsletters once a month. And when there's complex cases, we review all the documents and summarize them, and we do a pre-session with the mediators to help them prepare. Yikes.
I'm so sorry.
We review their,
More good words.
yes, more good words, but the good word, what was the one? Oh, these are, yeah, pull up your PowerPoint. We didn't solicit these, but this one, I apologize for not responding sooner. You were angels in our lives. We are very grateful for helping us. We feel much safer and more protected. In the next IEP, we'll definitely ask you again. A family whose first language was not English. We pivoted at COVID. Another thing I'm proud of. Okay. And we train, we continue to train that too. And we do virtual backup. We always have somebody behind the mediator for virtual. So in case something happens, we don't lose it altogether. Database, we talked about database. We report all of the stuff. Those are our 5 things that we went through really fast, Beth.
I'm so sorry.
Our contact information, our staff list again, And my final thought to you is change happens at the speed of trust. Actually, I didn't write it, Covey did, but I liked it, so I'm giving it to you. Yes, ma'am.
I understand, I don't know, but who trains your mediators to facilitate someone lost, federal and state?
It's part of their training,
Yeah, we do.
the 2-day in person.
Yep.
And then all those learning modules that she mentioned. So there's a learning module on least restrictive environment, right? I mean, and we're constantly adding to that list of, if you've ever done like your human resources bloodborne pathogen training, our learning modules are a
Right,
lot
Jason.
like that. You have to watch something, then you have to answer some questions, then you have to watch something again and answer some more questions.
Yeah, that type of thing. And they're vetted. Oh,
Oh,
there's
please
a-
don't forget to evaluate us on your, there's a QR code there on your table, not the purple
Right.
sheet one, but the white sheet
don't
one.
mark us down for not.
Oh,
let-
thank
know,
you for
just let
saying
us
that.
down.
I had,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
okay. And I apologize for the rush. Call me if you've got any questions. I left my business cards back there.
Sorry, we kept you from the lunch line.
Take a brochure. I got more too.
She's ready.
Pens,
I for one, 12:10, it is 11:05.
11:45 or 11?
The plenary.